conference weekend came to a close this past weekend, and it would not be a conference weekend in NCAA wrestling without major upsets over and underperforming teams and some shocking results. There is 7 conferences in Division I wrestling, so I just picked a few of the most questionable results in every conference, so let's just talk about it. Before that though, hi everyone, my name is Tanner and this is TrueTan Wrestling. The most exciting part of the wrestling season is quickly approaching, so be sure to subscribe to stay updated on all the major recaps and storylines from conference weekend and NCAAs coming up in a few days. Also feel free to leave a comment on videos or topics you'd like to see me discuss on the channel, but before that, let's talk about the most shocking results from conference weekend. For starters, I already made a very detailed video on the Big Tens that actually went in much more detail and actually came out earlier today, so consider this a part 2 for conference weekend recap, I guess. So if you want to hear all about that in much more detail, like I said, please go check that video out. The link is in the description below and should also be in the top right corner, I guess. It should pop up here. But now let's dive into another big, in quotes, conference in the Big 12 that always has something fun to talk about. So let's start with our champions, the Missouri Tigers. The Tigers looked stellar this tournament, having several finalists and several guys outplacing their seed in the long run. They had the title wrapped up pretty early on in this tournament, and Oklahoma State and Iowa State weren't even really in the running after a while, which was super surprising to see. Unfortunately, Oklahoma State still seems to be on a down curve because they really underperformed. 2 of their returning All-Americans and Travis Whitlick at 165 and Wyatt Cheese at 157 both went 0-2, not placing for the Cowboys. However, I do not want to talk all bad about Oklahoma State because I do really think they are a good team still. Just having a few bad weekends in a row is really putting a blemish on their schedule. But Serber at heavyweight finally had his breakout performance, being the 7th seed, making the finals, and reversing some results from earlier in the season. Oklahoma State did have 3 1 seeds get the job done though, with Fix at 133, Gefeller at 149, and Plott at 174. This was a very nice win for Plott considering he was having a shakier season compared to the other 2. Finally, there was 1 seed Parker at 141, who ended up taking 5th, but lost to an unseeded and 8-seeded wrestler. I know Parker had a limited match count this season, but this was a little shocking to lose to both of these guys. EIWAs, as predicted in another video, was awesome, and there was so much fun wrestling to watch. Most shocking was Humphreys of Lehigh getting defensive pin by Cerniglia of Navy in the semifinals of the 157-pound weight. Feel like there has been a ton of those this season. I might be howling on that, but that's just what I have noticed with defensive pins. Vito versus Glory Part 2 could not have been more different, with Arujau really putting it on Pat Glory in the 125 final. Overall, Cornell returned to their dominance, winning the conference, but Penn got a huge chunk of guys qualified, showing that they are truly on the rise, taking 2nd, and actually the top 3 were all Ivy League schools, with Princeton taking the 3rd place spot. Now moving from a big to a small conference, the SoCon had some interesting results for sure. For starters, congrats to Campbell for taking the tournament over the favorite Appalachian State. They had some nice Conti heroes and finalists helped them on that journey. Also, great finals wins for Mosley of Gardner-Webb, who is now a 2-time national qualifier, and Waddell of Chattanooga, who was definitely not the favorite to win it, but beat a very good Cobber of Campbell to become a 3-time national qualifier. Very impressive. Also, congrats to Castro of the Citadel that I highlighted way back in my CKLV video, which was one of my first videos on the channel, so go check it out if you haven't already. The MAC was the first conference on this weekend, and very early it started with some bangs, with Josh Mason of Bloomsburg at 141 becoming a national qualifier, but not before pinning 1 seed and top 10 ranked Simon of Central Michigan. Simon would actually go 1-2 and not automatically qualify for the big show, which was the biggest shock I thought of this conference. I honestly thought Central Michigan really underperformed, but that helped Lockhaven jump into the driver's seat and take home the MAC title, which was wild considering they took dead last in this conference last season. Talk about going from rags to riches, I guess. Also, how about Kamara from Kent State's run this tournament? He beat Madrigal of George Mason in the semis by injury default, which was super unfortunate that Madrigal had to default out, especially since his weight took top 5. I know his career has been full of injuries, so that's a super bummer. But Kamara then pinned heavy favorite and returning national qualifier and MAC runner-up Robinson of Cleveland State to stamp on a MAC title for Kamara and Kent State, being the 7 seed. What an incredible run. Moving back into the Power 5 conferences, we had the Pac-12, which was a 6-team tiny conference, but man did it pack a massive punch this weekend. For starters, Munoz of Oregon State shocks the Cal Poly team by pinning returning 174 All-American Trox, which is going to cause some fun seeding problems in a few days at 184 for sure. Munoz honestly had a great season along with Oregon State, who is easily one of the most improved teams this year. Munoz originally lost to Trox twice this season, but looks like he'll get the last laugh here and maybe in the last laugh at Nationals. There was also 2 All-Americans not getting an automatic qualifying spot, and Anthony Valencia of Arizona State, who lost a close semifinals match to Griffiths of Stanford, and then dropped a match to Olgan of Oregon State in an overtime loss for 3rd. Also, Oregon State got a team point taken away this match, which was kind of absurd to be honest, and that made the difference with Oregon State losing out of the Pac-12 title by half a point. Regardless, good job to the Beavers sending 8 automatic qualifiers to the Big Show and placing 2nd in the Pac-12. Abbas of Stanford had a long day at 149, getting pinned twice to take 4th, which I don't think anyone could have predicted. I did say it in one of my last videos that Crooks and Lamer could be landmines, and I guess that is exactly what they did to Jay and Abbas. Wrapping things up with the ACC, which really didn't have that much shocking things happen to be honest. NC State won the title, as expected, but Mekhi Lewis of Virginia Tech actually reversed the result against Hayden Hiley, winning the semifinal and winning the 174 bracket over Lott of North Carolina. You have to think that this is really going to hurt Hiley's seed, since he never got to avenge his Lott loss, and Mekhi got the last win over him, but who really knows at 174? The Big Ten was a mess too. Clark of UNC also had a rough day, being the favorite to make the finals, but after dropping a match to Jack of NC State, he would lose again on the backside, not even placing top 3 and not automatically qualifying. Which also brings up a point I really want to mention. 141 has a ton, and I mean a ton, of top tier guys not automatically qualifying, and there's only 5 at-large bids, so there's going to be some huge talent sitting out of this year's Nationals. Overall, this conference weekend had it all that you would want as a wrestling fan. There was basically 3 full days of wrestling with a ton of variety. I'll be honest, the Big Ten still stole the show for me, but one good thing about these other tournaments is the lack of automatic qualifying spots. Now you might be like, what is this dude talking about? But what I'm getting at is you see a lot less forfeits because guys need a win to qualify. They don't want to put it up to chance. Granted, there was a few of these in other conferences, not just the Big Ten, but what I'm getting at, there's a lot more competitive wrestling in some of these smaller conferences just because they have to win. I mean, their whole season is riding on the lines of winning their conference. Maybe they have to make the finals. Maybe there's a true second match. I mean, there's a lot more dramatics just going on, and it makes for some great matches. Plus, even in some of these smaller and some might even say weaker conferences, which I somewhat don't agree with, there is still top tier guys losing, and there is super competitive matches always going on in some form or another. I mean, Josh Heil, a top 10 guy from Campbell, who beat the Big Ten champ at 149 this season, had a sudden victory win in the semifinals of the SoCon. So there was always great wrestling no matter what conference you're watching. Well, with that little rant out of the way, and with all that said, thank you all very much for watching this fun little video, talking all about the shocking results from conference weekend. Like I said, I detailed the Big Ten in another video that came out earlier today, and this video was meant to give some love to those other conferences. I hope you all enjoyed this video, and if you did, hit that like button, and if you really liked it, go ahead and subscribe. Now, I hope to see you all in the next one. Take care, everybody.